guys, welcome back. My name's Johnny and today we're going to talk about fly rod weights. Let's jump right into it. So first of all, let's talk about what fly rod weights are not. Fly rod weights, it's not the size of or the poundage of the fish you can catch. It's not the actual weight of the rod, and it's not the amount of pressure it'll take for your rod to actually break. So that's not what fly rod weights are. So let's get that off the table. So I'm sure you've seen and researched about what type of weights can handle certain fish, where you can fish them, when's the best time to fish them. So we'll go over that briefly, but then we'll talk about what's most important when it comes to choosing a fly rod weight. So let's first talk about weights from 0 to 4. These are on the smaller end of the spectrum. These are mainly for small trout, small streams, or even some bluegill, some panfish as well. It's usually when you're trying to cast not very far, so it's not good to use these in wind. If you expect a lot of wind, definitely steer away from a 4 weight, as it's going to be very hard for you to cast. So for lighter fish, smaller streams, and smaller ponds as well. What these are for as well is for those delicate casts. So those delicate dry fly presentations when the fish are really finicky, or those mountain streams where you really have to get the right presentation, the right drift. These rods allow you to really get that nice soft presentation on the water and present your fly to that trout or that fish. So now we'll talk about weights 4 to 6. These are your general trout rods. These are great all-around rods. You'll typically hear that a 5 weight rod is a great all-arounder, which is true. And these 4 to 6 weights, you could use these for smaller trout, you could use them for medium-sized trout, and even larger-sized trout as well. You could even fish for some smallmouth bass, some smaller-sized bass on these. So a great all-arounder, especially as a beginner rod. If you want a rod that's very versatile, that you can fish smaller fish with, some medium-sized fish, medium-sized trout, this is a great addition to have. Or if it's your first rod, a great first rod as well to get you out there and go fishing. These rods can of course cast a lot farther for you. These ones you can comfortably cast 45, 65 feet, if not further. So definitely better for casting. The 6 weight rod, much better for casting in the wind. Now, although these do cast further, that is not the main objective. Remember, not every fish is going to be 65, 75 feet away from you. Of course, it's nice to know that you have that distance if you need it, but remember, a lot of the fish that you're going to catch, especially if you're a trout fisherman, are going to be right in between the 15 to 45 foot range. So the next step up is 6 weight to 8 weight rods. Now these are great bass rods to go out for bass fishing, as well as those larger sized trout. Great to throw these type of rods, these type of sticks in the wind. Very easy to cast in the wind compared to a 4 or 5 weight, let's say. So if you cast in a lot of windy places, if you can almost guaranteed wind, definitely go for one of these heavier weights, as well as if you're flinging bigger flies. These are also great for your carp fishing, as well as some steelhead and even some salmon fishing as well. So as you get to an 8 to 10 weight, now we're looking at some bigger size species of fish, some bigger type salmon, some steelhead, bigger steelhead, as well as some bigger trout, and a lot of saltwater species you can add in here as well. So the bigger these weights are going, as you can tell, the bigger the fish that you're going to be able to catch and hold on to. These rods, as you guessed, you can also cast a little further than those 6 to 8 weight rods. So you do have further casting distance, a lot stronger of a rod. Now you're stepping up to some 9 to 12 weight, even up to some 14 weight fly rods. And these are the big daddies. These are for throwing spay casts across large rivers in wind to go after those large fish. As you climb up to the, let's say 14, even 15 weight, I've seen that they've made some of those now currently. Those are for your big, large game in the middle of the ocean type fish. So let's now talk about not only the size of the fish, but what I consider, if not as important, more important when it comes to choosing the right weight fly rod, and that is the size of flies you're going to be casting, because that's really what you need to be worried about. For example, we talked about earlier about a 4 to 6 weight fly rod for trout. Now let's say I'm a trout fisherman and I want to mainly fish some smaller sized dry flies. Which rod should I go after? Which weight? Well, I'm most likely going to go after the 4 to 5 weight, because the size of my fly is much smaller, it's much more delicate. With the lower end of those rods and these weights, you're able to cast more delicately and have a better presentation on the lower end of the spectrum. But now let's say I'm fishing for trout, the same size fish, but I want to fish more streamers. Those are bigger size flies, those can get anywhere up to even 3 to 4 inches. I definitely want to go with the 6 weight in this case, because the flies I'm throwing are much bigger. So definitely when you're looking at different fly rod weights and you're looking to buy one for yourself, think about what flies am I personally going to be throwing more on the water. Of course, you want to take the fish into consideration, what type of fish you'll be catching, but most importantly, think about those flies. Another interesting thing to think about as well when it comes to buying a fly rod and the different weights is you want to plan ahead as well. So let's say I'm just getting into fly fishing and I buy a 5-weight fly rod. I want an all-around fly rod, so I go with a 5-weight. So what I can do is if I'm going with a 5-weight, I can plan accordingly in the future if I ever do want to buy some more gear. So if I'm going to buy a 5-weight rod, the other weight rods I can go to would most likely be a 3-weight or a 7-weight. We say this because the difference between a 5-weight and a 6-weight is pretty small. You can definitely tell the difference. And it could be noticeable to you. Maybe with a 5-weight you get more delicate presentation, or with a 6-weight it's easier to cast into the wind. But at the same time, you'd notice a much bigger difference if you jumped up to that 7-weight. And vice versa as you go down. You'll notice the difference between a 5-weight and a 3-weight much more than a 5-weight and a 4-weight. So kind of plan ahead. You may even do the opposite. You may even get a 4-weight, a 6-weight, and an 8-weight in the future. So the first rod you buy may be the 6-weight and you buy in the middle. So just some things to take in consideration as you think about fly rod weights and which one you would like to buy. Let's say you're stuck in the middle between fly rod weights. You don't know if you want to go with a 5-weight or a 6-weight or a 6-weight or a 7-weight. Typically, again, as we mentioned, think about the flies you're going to be throwing for one. But typically what is recommended is you go with the more heavier weight fly rod because it covers both ends of the spectrum. Now if I go with a 6-weight, I'll definitely be able to throw more streamers. I'll definitely be able to cast in the wind much better and get out in there and cast farther as well, more than a 5-weight would. Can I cast more delicately with a 5-weight? Yeah, you probably can, but the difference is much less than the difference is between throwing those bigger flies. Throwing those bigger flies on a 5-weight is much harder. If you're in between weights, I would definitely recommend going up a weight. And after all, the best thing to do that you can do is go to your local fly shop and go cast as many rods as you can in different weights, in different lengths. Truly see what fits you, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one fishing that rod, not anyone else. Please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. I have new videos coming out every Wednesday and Friday, every single week. So if you like fly fishing, if you like how-tos, informational videos, if you're an intermediate or you're just getting into the sport, or even advanced fly fisherman, we also have some gear reviews as well that go on this channel. So please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see anything in specific, and anything we can work on here on the channel as well. So we talked about the different weights of a fly rod and explained what type of species you can fish with them. But more importantly, and please remember this, that instead of basing your fly rod weight off of the type of fish or even the size of fish, really pay attention again to the size of flies that you're going to be throwing. Because this is just equally, if not more important, into your fishing success and really getting the rod for you that best suits your fishing needs. So definitely pay more attention to that. Please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. I have new videos coming out every Wednesday and Friday, every single week. So if you like fly fishing, if you like how-tos, informational videos, if you're an intermediate or you're just getting into the sport, or even advanced fly fisherman, we also have some gear reviews as well that go on this channel. So please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see anything in specific, and anything we can work on here on the channel as well. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.